Wow, what a week in the tech world. It feels like the ground just shifted beneath our feet. We're talking about a series of massive power plays that are going to redefine our digital future. Billions and billions of dollars are flying around as the biggest names in AI just put all their cards on the table. So, let's break down exactly what just happened. And at the heart of all this chaos is one simple question, really. What on earth could possibly force sworn enemies, companies that have been fighting tooth and nail for decades, to suddenly join forces? Well, that's the mystery we're going to unravel right now.
All right, here's our game plan. First, we're going to look at a truly shocking new partnership. Then we'll dive into Google's massive triple threat offensive. After that, we'll see how everyone else is fighting back on the global stage. And finally, the most important part, we'll connect all these dots and figure out what it all means for you.
Okay, first up, the deal that sent literal shockwaves through the industry. We're talking about a partnership between Apple and Google. I mean, after years of intense rivalry, the sheer pressure of the AI race has pushed them into this really unprecedented collaboration. And listen, this isn't some small handshake deal. Reports are saying Apple is paying Google an estimated $1 billion a year just to license their Gemini AI. And why? Well, it's all about giving Siri a much needed brain transplant to finally catch up with the competition. Now, here's where their strategy gets really clever. They're calling it a dual-track system. So think of it like this. For simple, private stuff like, hey Siri, set a timer, your iPhone handles that itself using Apple's own AI. But for the really complicated questions, the stuff that needs some serious brain power, that request gets sent to Google's Gemini running inside Apple's own private cloud. Apple's really hammering home that your data stays secure and is never, ever shared with Google's public servers. It's a fascinating balancing act between power and privacy. So that Apple deal, that's just one piece of the puzzle for Google. They have launched an absolute all-out offensive this week, and it's on 3 different fronts. They're pouring in money, they're upgrading the minds of their AI, and they're totally transforming how we think about search. So let's start with the money, because in this AI arms race, you need deep pockets. And Google is making a massive investment in its partners to make sure it stays at the front of the pack. Get this, Google is reportedly in talks to lead a new funding round for the AI company Anthropic at a potential valuation of $350 billion. To put that in perspective, that's double its valuation from just a few months ago. The pace of this investment race is just staggering. And this chart right here, it really paints the picture, doesn't it? In one corner, you've got Microsoft and its huge bet on OpenAI, valued at $500 billion. And in the other, you've got Google throwing its weight behind Anthropic. This is a battle of titans, and they're fighting it through these massive strategic partnerships. Okay, so that's the money. But what about the tech? Well, the second part of Google's strategy is all about leveling up the AI's actual abilities. They are pushing Gemini to evolve from just a tool that finds information into a proactive digital assistant, one that can actually do things for you. And the key concept here is something called agentic work. It's a bit of a jargony term, but it represents a huge leap. We're talking about AI that doesn't just answer your questions, but can actually, on its own, complete complex, multi-step tasks. So instead of asking, how are our sales last quarter, you could say, analyze the sales reports, cross-reference them with our marketing emails, and write me a full performance summary. It's a total game changer. And here's exactly how it works with their new deep research feature. You start by giving it a really complex prompt. Gemini then goes and builds its own research plan. Then it dives into your personal stuff, your Google Drive, your Gmail, and combines that with info from the web. And out comes a comprehensive report. This is AI doing hours of human work in just a few moments. And finally, the third prong of Google's attack, they're revolutionizing their crown jewel, Google Search. It's no longer just going to be a list of blue links. It's becoming a platform that actually helps you get things done in the real world. For some users in the US, this is already happening. You can literally tell Google Search to find and book you a table at a restaurant, or schedule a haircut, or even find and buy concert tickets through partners like Ticketmaster. Your search bar is becoming a command center for your life. So while Google's making all these incredibly aggressive moves, you can bet the competition isn't just sitting still. Apple and Microsoft are firing back with their own strategic plays, but they're focusing on totally different parts of this global battlefield. So while Google is all about raw power, Apple is playing a different game. Their strategy is about breadth.
about getting their AI features into the hands of more people, in more languages, all across the globe.
For instance, Apple Intelligence just expanded to 8 new languages, including traditional Chinese. They're also rolling out that cool live translation feature for AirPods across the European Union. But it hasn't all been smooth sailing. They actually had to delay the feature to make sure they're complying with the EU's strict Digital Markets Act, which just goes to show how complex these global launches can be.
And then there's Microsoft. They are playing an entirely different sport. Their big move this week wasn't for you or me, the average consumer. No, it was for huge organizations with incredibly strict security needs. Think governments, banks, hospitals.
And they're doing it by zeroing in on this absolutely critical concept: data sovereignty. All it means, in simple terms, is that a country's data has to physically stay inside that country's borders and follow its specific laws. For a lot of these big organizations, this isn't just a nice-to-have, it's a non-negotiable requirement. And this is exactly why it matters so much. By guaranteeing that its AI, Copilot, will process and store all data within India, Microsoft just unlocked a massive market. We're talking about key sectors like banking, healthcare, and government agencies that were super hesitant to jump into cloud AI because of data rules. Now the door is wide open for them. Okay, so we've got these wild partnerships, billion-dollar deals, global power plays. But what does all this corporate chess actually mean for the technology you and I use every single day? Let's bring it all home. Here are the big takeaways from this crazy week. First, your digital assistants like Siri are about to get a whole lot smarter and fast. Second, AI is making that leap from just answering things to actually doing things for you. Third, where you live is going to matter more than ever, with different regulations determining which AI features you can even get. And finally, and maybe most importantly, this epic battle for AI dominance isn't happening in some far-off lab. It's happening right inside the apps you already use every day from Google, Apple, and Microsoft.
When you really boil it down, all of these moves, they're all about building the fundamental engine that's going to power the next decade of technology. And that leaves us with one final and really critical question to chew on. As AI becomes this invisible engine for pretty much everything we do, who exactly gets to sit in the driver's seat?